right here, right now. I'm gonna make a brand new start. Right here, right now. I'm gonna make a change in my heart. Everything I need, I now receive. Done unto me as I believe. Right here, right now, where I am. Right here, right now. I'm gonna make a brand new start. Right here, right now. I'm gonna make a change in my heart. Everything that I now receive, and done unto me as I believe. Right here, right now, where I am. Right here, right now, where I am. Right here, right now, where I am.
Thank you, Richard. That was great. I like that song. And let's see, today as I said, Robert Brown is our practitioner of the day. And so I am going to invite him to do our opening prayer and share with us a lovely quote he found. Welcome, Robert.
Well, good morning again, everybody. I invite you to close your eyes, take a deep centering breath, and join me in consciousness. Join me in knowing that there is only one power, one presence. This morning, I give great thanks for another opportunity for us to come together as a spiritual community. And I give great thanks for change. For change is what gives us the opportunity to create new things, new and better things in our lives. And the winds of change have certainly crept into our lives over the past year and a half. And good is coming out of it. I feel it each and every day. The good that is coming into my life as a result of the travails of the past year. So I welcome change. Change is good. Change is healthy. Change is creative. I release my words into the law of mind, knowing that they are done as soon as I have spoken them. Together we say, and so it is. And I've got a quote from good old Ernest this morning that's related to the topic of the winds of change and creativity. The mind is a magnet, and we attract that with which we identify the self. In order to get the most out of life, we must learn consciously to change many of our habitual thought patterns. This is not easy, for our old thought patterns cling to us with great tenacity. But being thought patterns, they can be reversed. Refill yourself with faith, for faith always overcomes fear. And I'd like to invite you into a moment of silence while we contemplate our faith and contemplate the banishment of any fears, because faith, as Ernest says, always conquers fear, always overcomes fear, always replaces fear. And as we come back into the room, come back with a stronger faith than we started that moment of silence. Let's read together April's affirmation. Today, I open to the limitless possibilities available to me through the mind of God within me. My cup is neither half empty nor half full, but overflowing with plenty, prosperity, and love. I am protected, guided, and supported every day in every way. For this and so much more, I'm so grateful. So it is.
Thank you, Robert. I really enjoyed that quote from Ernest. Thank you for that.
Now, we have a chance to be grateful once again, our maestro.
We do. Take it away, Richard.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thinking about the topic, I was telling Michelle kind of my thought patterns, stepping into the unknown, which is the theme, and the winds of change. And of course, Robert mentioned change and how uncomfortable it can be, and how we sort of fall into a rut. But we can become strong and flexible as we deal with change. We kind of flow like in the breeze, and can adapt. Now, of course, the obvious song would have been "Everything Must Change," that I would have done, but I actually did that just a few weeks back. So I had to come up with something else. And like I told Michelle, I've invented a new word, and that is euthanize, but not EUTHANIZE, but YOUTHANIZE. And that's basically, I kind of, I want to stay, I want to be young at heart, flexible, and open up. And this is for all of us, to our creative self, to the universe of possibilities, as we say. And that's really a winner. Of course, Sinatra had a big hit with Young at Heart back in 1953. And of course, all of us are too young to remember that. But it's called Young at Heart. And thank you very much, Frank. Fairy tales can come true. It can happen to you if you're young at heart. For it's hard, you will find, to be narrow of mind, to be young at heart. You can go to extremes with impossible schemes. You can laugh when your dreams fall apart at the seams. And life gets more exciting with each passing day. Love is either in your heart or on its way. Don't you know that it's worth every treasure on earth to be young at heart? For as rich as you are, it's much better by far to be young at heart. And if you should survive to 105, look at all you'll derive out of being alive. And here is the best part: you've got a head start if you are among the very young at heart. Don't you know that it's worth every treasure on earth to be young at all? For as rich as you are, it's much better by far to be young at heart. And if you should survive to 105, look at all you'll derive out of being alive. And here is the best part. You've got a head start if you are among the very young at heart. I'm aiming right at 105.
Woohoo! Thank
Did
you,
hear the
Richard.
piano?
We can hear the piano.
Excellent.
So we have just been euthanized. We've hospiced out the old and midwife in the new. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate it. It was beautiful. So, good morning again, and welcome to One Heart, One Mind's online Sunday service. And this morning's topic, as Richard just mentioned earlier, is the winds of change. And I really like that topic. I've always liked the wind. Even as a child, I always loved the wind. There's something energetic about it. It's almost electric. And it seems to embody the entire encompass the entire idea of change. It stirs us up and it gets us out of our complacency and our comfort zone. And there's something fresh about the wind. It's like something new is blowing our way. And while that's true, sometimes we can get blown with winds that catch us completely off guard. Some sudden gust, a wind that we really were not expecting, a wind that at first might not feel that good. Maybe it's the end of a relationship or a health challenge or a lost job, or maybe even a world pandemic. And how we greet these unexpected winds of change is entirely up to us. And how we greet them will determine our experience of them. We are at choice. We can greet the winds of change with resistance. Oh no, not that. And feel victimized by it, or we can greet them without resistance, without judgment, without laying our limited human perception on top of them. You know, if we stand, and we talk about this a lot in our Science of Mind philosophy, we stand on the firm foundation of spiritual principle, a belief that everything is God and that everything is connected. We're all living and moving in this one life, and that whatever comes our way is ultimately leading us to a greater good, even if it doesn't feel so obvious at first. You know, then we can greet these unexpected winds of change with an openness that allows us to chart a new course. And the unexpected winds can help us course correct, which we talk about a lot. It points us in the direction of a greater good for our lives. And our part in that is to be aware of what's happening right now without blame or judgment, just to witness it and to stand firmly in that spiritual principle and to be grateful for everything that shows up. And sometimes it's a little hard to be grateful for those unexpected gusts of wind. But I have this great example, and I'm going to share a photo with you. There's a lake in Switzerland. I've got a photo of it. It's called Lake Leman. And if you notice in this photo, you can see that there are mountains on all sides. This beautiful lake. It's really quite gorgeous. And Lake Leman is near Geneva. And it has this interesting location of being surrounded by the Alps on one side and by the Jura, I hope I'm saying that correctly, mountains on the other. Hence, you can see the mountains on both sides. And So it's got this kind of interesting location with surrounded all around by mountains. And because of this, Lake Lehman has more than 70 different types of wind. Honestly, I didn't even know there were that many types of wind, but apparently there are. So Lake Lehman has over 70 different types of winds. And they're very unpredictable. They can be strong and gusty one day, and then the next day there can be practically no wind at all. And when that happens, the sailors, where they're out on their boats, will scan the surface of the water. It's a practice that they engage in. They'll scan the surface of the calm lake, and they'll look for any ripples that they might see that are moving on the water. And then the sailors will actually change course, change direction, and head toward that spot where they can see the ripples in the water, where they know the water is moving and there must be wind. And when they reach that spot, suddenly their sails will fill up and their boats will now have the power to sail them to their destination. So when the sailors are willing to move into the winds of change, even if it's only a small ripple, they can easily find their way to their destination. So I thought this was a great example to use for us in our daily lives about how we can engage with the winds of change that show up for us as those unexpected opportunities. And I like to think that whatever wind shows up for me, it's just something that's trying to get my attention. And I can, if I engage with it from a perspective of empowerment rather than victimhood. And it's so easy to feel victimized by stuff that you're not expecting and it just comes at you. We can use these winds of change to ask ourselves some deep questions, like, what is this wind trying to tell me? Those of you who did our book study with Gary Simmons' book, The Eye of the Storm, you'll remember that he used to always ask, tell me more. When something uncomfortable or out of the ordinary appeared, tell me more. And standing in the spiritual principle that everything shows up in our lives as an opportunity to learn something new about ourselves and to expand our life in some way, we can ask, tell me more. Why is this showing up for me? What's this here to tell me about myself, and what is this situation highlighting for me? And I think we said last week, as a matter of fact, that I know that whatever my intention for my life is, which is moving me forward, whatever is standing in the way will ultimately show up and show me, hey, this is the block. You have to heal this first. So sometimes when I'm sitting with someone in a prayer session and maybe they have some wind that has suddenly shown up for them that they're not particularly crazy about, I ask them to sincerely search their belief and see if they are willing to entertain the idea that they have a belief somewhere, even if it isn't in their conscious mind, so even if they're not aware of it, somewhere that has created this particular situation that they're experiencing, this wind, if you will. Now, and this isn't to judge or blame the person and say, look what you've done, but it's simply to draw their awareness of how co-creation works, because I know that until I'm willing to acknowledge that I've co-created something, until I'm willing to engage with it from a perspective of, oh yeah, maybe I had something to do with that, until I'm willing to say, yes, I believe there is something in my consciousness, whether I'm aware of it or not, that has attracted this situation to me, then I'm not empowered to change it or to look at it even as an opportunity. So even as something as crazy as a car accident, I wanted to, some of you already know, in 2018, I was in this car accident and I was stopped in a left-hand turn lane. I was turning onto my own street and a car hit me head on going 40 miles an hour, and I was miraculously not injured. But then I remembered, when I was wondering, how could I possibly have attracted this car accident into my life? I had remembered that I had been telling myself, I really want a new car. This car is the limit. I had had all kinds of trouble with it. The transmission went out. It was just, I had all kinds of trouble with it. And I didn't want to have the car anymore. And I had been telling myself, I had acquired the belief that I was going to get a new car and I wanted a new car. I didn't actually expect it to happen so dramatically, but it did. But my belief, I think, attracted this experience into my life. Thank goodness I was not injured at all. So I think even when we're unaware that we are attracting something into our life, there is that something in us that is attracting it into our lives. And change doesn't just happen in life. Change is life. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, I'm going to share a quote from him. He said this about change. I always like to go to Holmes and see what he had to say when I'm talking about a particular topic. And I found this great quote from his on page 68 of the Science of Mind text. And he wrote, "All seeming change is merely the play of life upon itself. And all that happens must happen by and through some interaction." I wanted a new car. I got in a car accident. What would be the nature of this interaction? It could not be physical, as we understand physics, but would have to be by the power of some inner movement of life, some inner movement or play of life upon itself, right? So for me, that and that can look like anything. Really, for me, it was, I wanted a new car, and sure enough, I got it. What shows up for us in life is that interaction on our part that is demonstrating for us. It tells us what it is we truly believe, and it gives us the opportunity to shift our perception, to create something else. All real change comes from the interaction of consciousness. Everything in the visible world has a corresponding cause in the invisible world. The invisible to the visible, consciousness to form. And when the unexpected winds of change show up in our lives, we're empowered to see them through the lens of spiritual principle, to stand on the foundation of that spiritual principle, from the foundation of the reality that's already within us. And, we don't have to be tossed about aimlessly by the winds that come our way. We can ground ourselves in spirit, in our divine nature, and we can be open and willing to embrace change, to expand and progress into our highest good and to the experience of the joy of being alive. I have this wonderful little cartoon that I know I've shared before. It's an old one. I've had it forever, but it's so wonderfully and humorously illustrates this idea of, we have to be willing. We have to be open to embrace the change that we want to see. I know I've shared it before, but you'll like it. Let me get it up here. It's a cartoon of the caterpillar and the butterfly therapist telling the caterpillar, the thing is, you have to really want to change. That's the thing. We have to really be willing. We have to want change to embrace us. Actually, it's gonna happen in uncomfortable ways unless we're willing and ready to openly embrace the ways in which we'd like to experience the change. So that's the thing. I really like that. We have to be flexible and stand firmly on principle. I was thinking about how people plant windbreaks. Whenever I have a topic, I'm always thinking of all the different ways in which we experience or see the topic in our lives, and we can use those as powerful metaphors. So I was thinking about how people plant windbreaks. I'm sure you've seen in windy country settings where people plant windbreaks to slow down the wind, protect their properties. I was reading that even if a windbreak is only 20 feet tall, it will change the motion of the wind for up to 40 feet, which I thought was really fascinating. One small change creates a powerful impact. But here's what I noticed, that there are certain kinds of trees that are used as windbreaks, and they're the ones that have these deep root systems. Trees like cedars and poplars, tall trees with deep, deep roots. And I remember my dad telling me one time that people used to plant eucalyptus trees as windbreaks until they realized that they're very, very shallowly rooted, and that one good strong wind and they would fall right down. They couldn't handle a big strong wind. So we can think of standing in spiritual principle as having a very, very strong root system, one that can manage the winds of change that swirl around us, that come our way, so that we can embrace and engage with the wind and actually celebrate it and open our arms to it. So far, we've talked about becoming aware of the winds that show up in our lives, watching the surface of the water, moving towards the ripples, so that those winds can actually help us to grow and to expand, looking for all the little gifts that are contained within that wind. And then we engage with them and we move ourselves forward. We expand into a greater life. And how can we then stand firmly in spiritual principle to have the strength and the resilience to handle the strongest winds? You know, our spiritual practices tend the soil around the roots of our windbreak or our spiritual principles, so that we can stand more securely, more firmly, so that we won't be knocked over at the first good gust, but that we can be flexible enough to bend with the wind. And there's this wonderful verse in the Tao Te Ching, which is attributed to the master teacher Lao Tzu. And I wanted to share it with you because I think it really speaks to this idea of being able to bend with the wind and being flexible. And flexibility or softness is an actual attribute of life, that life is soft and supple, and how there is true strength in this kind of flexibility. So I have that. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. So this is verse 76 of the Tao Te Ching. Mankind at birth is soft and supple, at death stiff and hard. Trees and plants are born tender and pliant. Dead, they are brittle and dry. Thus, whoever is stiff and inflexible is a disciple of death. Whoever is soft and yielding is a disciple of life. The hard and stiff will be broken. The soft and supple will prevail. And we can use this in all different ways, as far as our bodies are concerned, as far as our consciousness, willing to embrace what is and what comes our way, and to recognize and understand that life is constantly flowing through us, and that as we are soft and pliant and flexible, that which life brings and moves through us is an actual opportunity or gift for us to embrace it in a new way and to move forward, to grow, to expand. I really like that idea of just being welcoming in whatever comes our way. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you. So now the question becomes, how do we cultivate the soil of our lives? How do we tend that soil around those tall windbreaks, those spiritual principles that we want to be deeply rooted into? What spiritual practices will support a deep and a healthy root system so that we can be firmly planted in that soil? So today I'd really like to finish up by talking about gratitude. Gratitude is a spiritual practice, and gratitude as a state of consciousness. Gratitude is not only a response to some outside circumstance or event that comes our way, but it's also a spiritual practice that leads us into a loving state of being. It supports us in living from that deep rooted system of the divine that is already within us. So have you ever heard, I was thinking about this, it's not really a good way to parent, but have you ever heard, maybe your parents said it, I hope they didn't, but they might have. I've heard parents say this before and kind of cringed, but have you ever heard a parent say, if you don't stop crying, I'm going to give you something to cry about? Not particularly an enlightened parenting style, but I know it has been said. Well, what if we take that line, kind of came up for me as I was putting this together. What if we take that line and we turn it around? If you don't stop being grateful, the universe is going to give you something to be grateful for. Actually, we could say that about any quality of the divine, really, because that's the way the creative process works. If you don't stop being loving, the creative law is going to give you something loving or abundant or peaceful or joyous. Whatever state of consciousness we live from as a habitual state of being is what we'll see returned in our lives. So how about if we say, if I don't stop being grateful, the universe is going to give me something to be grateful for. Gratitude is a lot of things, but it can be most appropriately described as a love vibration. You know, we did a meditation on gratitude before the service. You know, we do a meditation from 10:05 to 10:20. And I talked about how gratitude is a movement. We move into this state of gratitude, but it's really the loving vibration, peace and contentment that we're moving into. It's a state of being as well. When we're in gratitude, we exude this feeling of acceptance and appreciation. And gratitude lets us connect with the winds of change around us through our heart space, you know, through here, not only in our head, but in our heart. Gratitude moves us from our head into our loving heart. And it kind of distills our emotions. You know, it's impossible to be in fear, in doubt, in worry or shame when we're in the consciousness of gratitude, which makes gratitude a wonderful spiritual practice. There's a woman at my old center, Nancy, Deborah Perdue, who is a wonderful gratitude teacher. She has a wonderful gratitude journal that I pull out and use almost every day. And I learned from her that gratitude moves us into this new state of awareness, and then it opens us up into this new state of being. And you know, we always talk about gratitude as being a creative force. And what is meant by that is when we're in this state of gratitude, we're open to infinite supply and the abundance of our Creator. If we want more of something, we become grateful for what we have. And then that gratitude opens us up to the flow of more. I love that line from Esther Hicks. I think I use it a lot, but I really like it. She said, and I may not be getting this exactly right, but it's the gist. I am deeply satisfied with everything in my life, but there are an infinite number of things yet to satisfy me. You know, we can't get what we want until we want what we have. We stand in the gratitude of what is, no matter how it looks, and we pave the way. We open ourselves to the what is next. It's creative. Gratitude is a creative force. When we feel gratitude for what is, we open the door to what will be. It's the great multiplier, gratitude. And you know, that's the lesson of the fishes and the loaves in the Bible. At least that's what I think is the idea of gratitude opening us up. What was the first thing Jesus did? He took the 7 loaves and the fishes and he held them and he gave thanks for what he already had and then shared the rest and it multiplied. So I love that story. And it does really demonstrate how gratitude is the great multiplier. And gratitude also puts us in the perspective of the observer. I know when we do spiritual mind treatment, meditation, when we do our spiritual practices, we talk a lot about being in the observer or the witness state, which brings us back into that connection with our higher self, or our authentic self, as we often call it, our God self. And it helps us to rise above any temptation to judge or blame or compare. We're just in the present moment, seeing what is. And gratitude stands us firmly in that strength, the power, and kind of the reliability of spiritual principle. The spiritual principle that everything is connected. Everything happens within the one life of God, and that the universe truly is conspiring for our good. If it's showing up for us, it means that it has something to offer us, something in us to look at, and we can look at the many, many gifts that we've been given from this pandemic, or from anything that has been a challenge in our life. But let's take the pandemic. So on the surface, it looks like a tragic event. And don't get me wrong, many people have suffered and have lost loved ones and have had a great deal of pain. But I do believe that there is something in here, in the collective consciousness, that it is teaching us, that it has brought forward some wonderful opportunities, not the least of which is that love and connection are the most important things that we have in our lives, and that there are many ways to connect and show loves to each other. We have dug deep to find them. And while gratitude brings us into this present moment, it also gives us the opportunity to be grateful for and to forgive, because gratitude really does open the door for forgiveness, our past errors, or the errors that we feel have been perpetrated on us by others. Gratitude is really an integral part of forgiveness, because it moves us out of fear and into love, which is really the definition of forgiveness. When we can be grateful for something that has happened in our past, we can free ourselves from the bonds of the past, and we can move more fully with an open heart to embrace what is. And through the practice of gratitude, we open ourselves. We just open ourselves up to the expansion of life and its joyful and its playful nature. When we're sitting in gratitude, when I'm sitting in gratitude, I can only speak for myself, and I'm in that state or that vibration of love, life feels joyful and life feels so playful and open. It's so powerful that gratitude or thanksgiving is a part of our main prayer, our spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer, because it opens us up. I love what Dr. Joe Dispenza says about gratitude. He said that gratitude is the ultimate state of receivership. I truly believe that's reality, that it is. It opens us up to really embrace what we would like to see come forward in our lives. And I would love to hear from you during our discussion time, our visiting time afterwards, how you use gratitude in your own life and how it works for you. So as we deepen our spiritual practice of welcoming everything, all of the winds of change into our life, no matter what they look like, if they're gentle, easy winds, or if they're, taking us by surprise, we begin to see that the blockages, if you will, the disappointments and the stuck places we have in our life are actually opportunities. And then we can begin to gratefully accept them with an open heart, to actually surrender to what is without judgment or blame, and open ourselves up to embrace with curiosity and commitment to living from a belief that life is actually for us, no matter what it looks like. So I wanted to end today with what I think is a very eloquent offering on gratitude. You've probably heard it. Actually, it's a YouTube video. I was going to play it, but I just summarized it. It's from Brother David Steinsrast. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but he has this wonderful video on gratitude where he tells us that each day is a gift and the only appropriate response is gratitude. It's the only thing we have right now, he says. And he invites us to begin by opening our eyes and being surprised that we have eyes that we can open to see the incredible array of colors that are constantly offering themselves to us for our pure enjoyment. And he invites us to look at the sky and notice how different it is from moment to moment to moment. And to look into the faces of the people that we meet, knowing that each face has an incredible story behind it. And not only their story, but the story of their ancestors, that all of that life from so many generations flows together and meets us here in this moment. Oh, I love that idea. Think of that. All of our ancestors flows together and meets us in this moment. We are a product of that generational expression of life. How exciting. And he says that like life-giving waters, that we are able to open our hearts and drink. And he invites us to let our gratefulness overflow into blessing all around us, everything and everyone around us, and to let everyone we meet on this day be blessed by our presence. And then he says, and then it will truly be a good day. So let's take a nice centering deep breath in for a moment. And I draw you into a realization that all there is God, that everything that is happening, these words that I am speaking, this Zoom call we are on, this technology, all of the input of all of our ancestors is an expression of this one life, this one God, this wonder, this order and intelligence and beauty, this song of life, this universe. We are all in it and it is in us. We cannot be separated from it. And I speak my word for and about each and every person that is present on this call and each and every person that is not, and that we are able to shift into a new state of consciousness, to use gratitude as the moving catalyst that moves us into a state of openness, of love, of generosity, of joyful presence and beingness in this moment. And that as we embrace the winds of change that come our way, we are flooded with the gift of life itself and all that it has to offer us. And we allow it to expand us, to play with us, to use it to express more and more good joyfully here on planet Earth, to truly bring heaven into physical form, where we share and express and love each other generously. So I just say thank you for this glorious day, for this time that we are gifted to spend together, for all of the times and the ways that we come together in consciousness and are supported by this life force we call Spirit God, the all that is, the divine within us. And in this deep state of gratitude and acceptance and wonder and awe, I simply say thank you. I allow it to be. I know that these words I speak are already moving into the visible. They have no choice. And we relax in that, knowing all is well. And we signify our agreement together by saying, and so it is. Thank you. Oh, goodness. And so this is our time of conscious giving, which we seem to be doing every day of our lives. Oh, I'm supposed to share this first. I always forget this piece. Hang on a minute. I'm fumbling around here. Here are the many ways in which you can give to our center. There's really 3 ways. You can give on Venmo, you can give on Tidely, or you can send a snail mail check to our assistant treasurer, Jim Massapus, and he kindly deposits them for us. And the address is in the chat box right now, if you want to do that. And I've been using Venmo. It's just so easy. It's just like, here you go. And I also have up our affirmation for sacred giving. So I just invite you to imagine. Oh, just take a nice deep breath. Hold your hand over your heart and imagine that you are holding the gift that you give to this center so that we can do the work that we do, and that you can be present here to be in this beautiful community with these loving people, and to come into our different classes and the Zoom calls that we offer. And hold that gift over your heart, in your heart, and say the affirmation with me. I recognize that my gift is an instrument of the energy and love of God. As it flows from me, it advances and uplifts all life. I said that backwards, including mine. And I give and receive joyously. I am so grateful. And so it is. Oh, and let's see. I think I do believe. Well, first let's go to announcements. I think Maureen is doing the closing prayer, but Leslie, do we have any announcements?
Now, I want to start out by reminding everyone that if you would like to have spiritual mind treatment, that you can have that happen immediately. And what you do is you go to chat and you let the hostess know that you would like to have spiritual mind treatment. If you know who it is you would like to work with, which one of the practitioners, you let them know that if they're present. Otherwise, you'll be assigned to someone. And what happens is you are put in what we call a breakout room, which just you and the practitioner are in that room. Nobody knows your conversation. They can't hear what's going on. It's like a private room, and you can have your spiritual mind treatment. So if you would like to have spiritual mind treatment for whatever is going on in your life, please make use of that because it is available for you. Monday, we have our spiritual recovery program that Reverend Michelle facilitates, and that's at 6:30 to 7:30. And she's been going to cover the 3rd step of the 12-step program and how metaphysical that is and how it applies to us. And then Tuesdays, we have our spiritual inoculation, and that's Tim, I believe it's Reese.
Jim Reese. Jim.
Yes.
Jim Reese.
And I believe he's from the Grants Pass area, if I remember
Yes, he
correctly.
Is. He's
And
a practitioner in Grants Pass. Yeah.
He gives phenomenal meditations. And what he's going to be talking about is meditative exploration in expanded consciousness for us. And then Wednesday, Maureen Bishop is going to lead the discussion on a book called The Art of Uncertainty by Dennis Merritt Jones. Now, you do not have to have read the book to be able to participate in the program. And that is at 6:30 on Zoom also.
Actually, I think it's at 6.
Or I'm sorry, it's 6. Yeah, Mondays
The
at
only-
6:30, Tuesday and Wednesdays at 6.
That's right.
Okay, does anyone have any other announcements? Hey, Maureen, we are ready for our benediction.
Robert
Oh,
has
I'm sorry, Robert.
May I just add, you were talking about doing prayer treatments in the breakout rooms, but in the weekly announcement that Michelle sends out are the lists of all the practitioners and our phone numbers, and that is another way to get spiritual mind treatment. Call any of us. Just don't call me at 4 a.m. at Hawaii time.
Yeah, Hawaii is 3 hours behind. So it may seem like 9 o'clock here, but not so much there.
Yes, Rob McGregor and Robert Brown are both in Hawaii, so you need to pay attention to the time difference when you're contacting them. Okay, Maureen.
And me too. I'm here too.
Oh, Maureen, yes, that's
Right.
right.
So, well, great. It's time for our benediction, some good words. So if you'd like to join me again in just closing your eyes or taking a deep breath and relaxing again, and just centering on the consciousness of gratitude. So each day is a gift, and today is an amazing gift. It's a gift with bows and bells and ribbons and beauty and joy, and it is a delight. So right here, right now, I just give thanks for this gift of life, which is God's life, which is our life right here and right now. There's only the one in us. And I give great gratitude for Michelle and Richard and Robert and all the practitioners and all the people that make this the fellowship of one heart, one mind. I know, as Michelle said, something unexpected is blowing our ways. Something new is being created within. It's the living from the divine. So this week and every week, we are aware, greater awareness of who and what we are and what is stirring within and what is blowing good for all. Gratitude, I give thanks for it all. I release, I let go. I know it is so, and together we say, so it is.
So it is.
And so it is. Thank you so much, Maureen. That was beautiful. Loved it. So our closing our closing song today is about prayer. So this one always reminds me of Al. Al used to love to sing. Oops, I don't know what I just did. Hang on a minute. Can you still see it? You can still see it. All right. So we're going to sing Our Thoughts Are Prayers. So if you just mute yourself and take it away.
Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Take charge of what you say. Seek a higher consciousness, state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer.
Let's sing it again. I want to sing it twice, Richard.
Okay. Our thoughts are
Thoughts are
prayers,
prayers.
and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Take charge of what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer.
I love that song. It's so true. Oh. So So this is our time of discussion. Yeah, thank you, Jane. I was going to ask you to stop the recording.